Love stories.
Hey, welcome back to Love Stories. I'm your host, Cheri Smith, Blue Heart Music, and this is a place where you just might learn a little bit about love while being entertained. Now, today I am super pumped up to introduce a very special guest, my good buddy, very talented guitarist, Eric Bruckbauer. Woo! So, Eric is a guitar player for the band Warning Danger. And he also has a solo project that sounds pretty cool. Plus, he is going to tell us a love story today about how he met his spouse. But there's a twist. Stay tuned for that. All right, so let me officially welcome Eric Bruckbauer. Bruckbauer, Bruckbauer, Bruckbauer.
Hi, thank you for having me, Cheri.
Oh, you bet. Yeah, thanks for joining. And I wanted to tell you one thing. You probably already know this, but you have like a really cool last name. Do people chant your name? Brooke Bauer.
Very rarely. They usually mispronounce my name is
Really?
mostly.
Am,
I get
am I saying it
Brubaker a
right?
lot.
It just seems like it's cool enough. Like people should just call you that, like, but they should yell it or chant it. One of the
Yeah,
two.
actually, my nickname for many years, a lot of my friends know me as Brooker,
Oh yeah.
because it was just easier to say than Bruckbauer, and there's always been a lot of Erics around, so I've always kind of attracted various nicknames. In college, the nickname that I didn't choose for myself, but I was known as Chainsaw.
Oh. And why was that?
Apparently, I looked like a guy from the movie Summer School who went by the name Chainsaw.
Oh,
If you're
okay.
not familiar with the movie, that won't mean anything to you. But apparently, for people who are familiar with the movie, they always go, "Oh yeah, you totally look like that guy,"
Yeah, yeah.
and the
I
name stuck.
I saw it back in the day, but I'd have to go back and refresh.
Yes.
So you were doing a couple projects. Your band Warning Danger, I know is your current project. Plus, you're also doing a solo project. So what can you tell me about those?
So Warning Danger has been around since 2007. I joined in 2009. We recently completed our sixth album, which we're quite pleased with, and proud that we've stuck it out and been together for so many years.
Yeah.
Um, we are known as the world's only safety themed punk band. So all of our songs are written about, various ways of avoiding danger. We have a song about watch out for Godzilla, safe sex, basically various things that could hurt or kill you are things that we warn you about and tell you how to avoid in the songs. When we play shows, we wear safety gear. I wear like a full body orange jumpsuit and a
Nice.
reflective vest and a hard hat, and the other guys do the same. And we really go all in with the theatrics at the show. We have a toilet paper cannon that we
Oh
launch at
yeah.
the crowd. We really try to make the shows as fun as possible. So the songs are pretty lighthearted, and we definitely don't take ourselves too seriously.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did catch the toilet paper cannon. I was looking at your website and listening to some songs. I will also note that some of the lyrics are probably PG 13.
Yeah, it's not meant for children, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Don't let the wee ones wander in while you're listening to it.
Maybe once they get to middle school or early high school, it'll become more appropriate, but
There
still
you
like seem a little naughty, so they'll still kind of want to check it out.
go. That's all right. So I guess that explains the name of the band, Warning
Hmm.
Danger. Sounds like it's very themed there.
Yep, we ride that theme pretty hard.
Cool. So you have a pretty recent album release people can check out. And then you also mentioned to me that you are doing a solo project called Oceans of Mars.
Yeah, I've been doing that project off and on for probably as many years as I've been in Warning Danger, although Warning Danger's been the primary project. I just kind of do Oceans of Mars, when I have time or when I've come up with enough sort of creative material that I want to put into an album, or I've done a couple of tours. We played Hempfest a few years back in Boise. So it's just kind of like we just do it when we have time. That one tends to be similar in sound to Warning Danger, but
Okay.
and also lighthearted, although the recent album that I'm just completing right now is a little less lighthearted and a little bit more kind of angry and political, given how
Lot of
things have
that.
been recently.
Yeah, like gotta express that emotion, like let it out, you know?
Yeah, I started recording the project at home, the recent album at home by myself, as soon as shortly after the pandemic started. So it's kind of been my way of just, trying to keep myself sane while I'm stuck here at home, and
Yeah.
getting out some of my emotions about everything that's going on. And it's the first time that I've really kind of done a project on my own like that.
Well,
Although I have gotten a lot of my musician buddies to add various things. I got a friend to add some theremin, if you know what that is. It's that weird
I
thing. It's basically just like this wire that you don't touch, and it just
oh,
makes
okay.
weird
Oh yeah,
noises.
you just like
It's like,
you like yeah. I've heard of that. I think I saw a YouTube video, so I was like, what the heck is that thing?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it makes for
interesting.
some interesting sounds.
Yeah.
I played
Huh.
briefly in a band back in like 2002 in Tokyo. That's a whole other story.
Wow,
And the
cool.
guitarist who I was in that band with is Canadian. He lives in Toronto, and we've kept in touch. And he's added some things to the album as well. He's a really good guitarist. So I had him add a couple of solos to the recent project. So it's just kind of a chance to like get my buddies together and just kind of make whatever we want and not really
Yeah,
feel restricted by it having to be any certain way.
well, that's cool. And also, I know you have done in the past a little bit of acting. So what can
Yes.
you tell me about that part?
When I was a student at Washington State, go
Go
Cougs.
Cougs, woo!
So I studied television production at Washington State. I got a communications degree, and so I was heavily involved in Cable 8, and I worked on a lot of the programs. And one of the programs was Nighttime, which did like comedic sketch comedy stuff. And I did a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but I also got pulled in front of the camera a lot, which I was fine with. I did a lot of drama in high school and stuff, so I've always kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
done some acting.
Mhm.
Um, and I was in some sketches that you can find online. The B Street Boys, Pullman Transit are a couple, probably my biggest roles. There was The Real World Pullman,
Oh, cool.
or a couple of the ones that I was featured in or showed up in. But kind of the main actor in that was a guy by the name of Chris Cashman,
Hmm.
who is the son of Pat Cashman. And if you're from Seattle, you may recognize that name
Yeah,
because he was one of the main guys on Almost Live
yeah.
back in the day. And I was a huge Almost Live fan. In fact, it played a role in my love for that show. Is kind of what got me interested in television production, which is what led me to go to Washington State, and then
Nice.
just ironically, like, become friends with the son of one of my Almost Live heroes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so we kept in touch after college, and he went on to create this show that was on TV for a while called the 206,
Hmm.
which also was later called Up Late Northwest,
Okay.
which was basically exactly like Nighttime that we
Yeah,
had done on Cable 8. And so I told Chris, I said, hey, if you've got any place on the show that you need me at all, I am there.
yeah,
And so he cast me and Mark, who is the singer in Warning Danger, called Weed Cops, where
nice.
Mark and I played stoners who had been pulled over by a cop, and the cop does all these really unusual tests on us to try to determine if we're stoned or not. And the sketch was like a huge hit.
That's
uh,
awesome.
it was like a really popular sketch, and so they kept having us come back on the show. We probably did like 5 different sketches. We did a
Wow.
second version of Weed Cops, and we also did instead of Top Chef, it was called Pot Chef,
Oh yeah.
and we were the stoners on that. So we became like you know, regular characters on Chris Castman's show as these two stoner guys.
Yeah, yeah, typecast as a stoner.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely
That's
did.
I did watch the Weed Cops episode that you were talking about. It was pretty funny. And for those of you who don't know, Almost Live and then the 206, those followed SNL. So if
Right.
you're an SNL fan, and then if you kept watching TV in Washington State and I don't know where else, then, then that would segue into Almost Live. And then later that changed hands and became the 206.
Mm-hmm.
And then Up Late Northwest. So
Yeah. So that
uh,
was a total dream come true for me.
yeah, yeah, so fun. Yeah, that sounds like a good time.
It was.
So I will post the links for Eric in the description so you can check out his projects. I might sneak in some of the other links that we talked about too, because they're pretty fun.
Yeah, you should get Weed Cops in there. I think people will get a kick out of that one.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
even the B Street Boys if you want to go all the way back to my Cable 8 days.
I actually I just watched that again tonight because that's actually how I met Eric. And it just cracks me up. Like I just think it's so funny, all the details. It's just you just have to watch it. And watch it like a bunch of times because you pick up stuff the more you watch it. Like it just gets funnier and funnier. So
And I'm JC is my character's name in that. You may not recognize me because I don't have a beard and I'm like almost 20 years younger
yeah.
in that video.
That was like a little while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, and probably when the Backstreet Boys were popular too, so it was
Yep,
like
yeah,
very in vogue at the time. But
totally.
it's still hilarious. So
Yeah, it's
you gotta watch
timeless.
it. Yeah. All right. So now everybody, guess what? It's time for love stories. So Eric is going to tell us about how he met his spouse, but with a little bit of a twist because somebody else was there that may have changed the course of how things went. All right, so Eric, go ahead with your love story.
All right, so I was hanging out with my friend Jake at a legendary Seattle bar called the Tin Hat, just like any other night, like we'd done 100 times before, sitting there having beers, talking about music and things. And his girlfriend, simultaneously, unbeknownst to us, was hanging out with a friend of hers, Hannah, and they worked together at a healthy pet food store. Is how they knew each other.
Right.
So, anyways, I was hanging out with Jake. Jamie and Hannah were also hanging out, and they just happened to also come into the bar. So Jake, recognizing his girlfriend, says, "Oh, I wasn't expecting you guys to be here. Why don't you come and join us?" And immediately, I was just completely taken by Hannah right off the bat. But this is the twist. She wasn't alone. She was there with her boyfriend.
Oh man.
So that was a little bit of a hitch in the plan or whatever. But I just immediately was just totally enamored with her and was just like kind of making eyes at her all night and totally inappropriately when she's there with her boyfriend. And I can remember thinking, because they just walked in and they were just hanging out and being cool like everyone else. I just can remember thinking to myself, how does that guy keep his hands off of her? Like if I was him, I would just be like hugging and kissing on her all night. Which is ironic now because I'm sure like when her and I go out now, it's not like we're hugging and kissing all
Yeah,
night.
you're not like
people. Yeah.
20 something year old.
We've been together for 10 years. Like
Yeah.
there's probably dudes in the bar, thinking like about me, like how am I keeping my hands off of her? So they can stay with the turn. I thought she was great. And then I couldn't help but make it known. I told my friend Jake, who I had went there with, I said, "Wow, Hannah is really something." And Jake was like, "Well, she's got a boyfriend, so forget it." He was basically like, "Not gonna happen. Just like put it out of your mind."
Yeah.
Then later, when I talked to Jamie, his girlfriend, and I kind of was like, "Wow, what's the story with your friend Hannah? She's great."
Mhm.
She was like, "Well, Yeah, she's got a boyfriend, but maybe if you're a little bit patient,
Okay.
you may get an opportunity because she was kind of getting the sense that that relationship may be ending soon.
He was starting to head down the toilet.
Yeah, it was on the rocks,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was good news for me and gave me some encouragement that like, okay, well then maybe this isn't a dead end there.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So over the following weeks, kind of as the previous relationship was kind of going away, Jamie did everything she could to just invite the both of us to as many things
Nice.
as she could, and just like
Yeah.
invent reasons for us to get to know each other.
Cool. Nice. Good
um,
wingman.
yeah, totally. I mean, Jamie did me a real solid on being the wing girl
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
situation. So some of the funny examples of Jamie doing that. So at the time, I worked as a server at the spaghetti factory.
Okay.
And I was the worst server in the world. I was horrible at it. I hated being a server. It's the worst job I've ever had. We could probably do a whole nother episode about how much I hated being a server and how bad I was at it. So one day, Jamie and Hannah showed up at my restaurant while they knew I would be working and requested to sit in my section,
Ah,
which totally threw me for a loop because,
yeah.
here's the girl I like while I'm at work. And
You're
I
like,
was just like so nervous. And I think I completely messed up her entire order
oh no.
because I was nervous and because I was a horrible waiter anyways. I brought her like the wrong food. I brought her the wrong glass of wine.
Oh
Uh,
no.
but she was a very good sport about it, and she wasn't really there for the food either. She was just there to kind of kind of check in on me and kind of scope
Yeah.
me out a little bit more. So
Yeah.
she let it slide that I was a horrible server.
It's very nice of her.
And then another time, without me expecting it, Jamie and Hannah were hanging out again, and Jamie said, "Why don't we stop by Eric's house and just say hi for a minute?"
Yeah.
Which I totally wasn't expecting. So they came. I get a knock on my door at my apartment,
Nice.
and I'm kind of like in my like grubby like sweatpants,
Oh yeah.
not really expecting company, and go to
Yeah.
the door, and there's Jamie with the girl that I like. Um, who invited themselves in, which was fine. But what's kind of funny about that, and of course I didn't realize this at the time, but after like the next day, Jamie called me, said, when we came into your place smelled terrible.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh, it's because I hadn't taken my garbage out.
Oh
So like
no.
right when they came in, my garbage was sitting right there, and the whole place smelled like
Oh.
garbage. But like when it's in your own living area, you don't notice a bad smell.
Yeah.
You just get used to it.
Yeah.
So here, Hannah just thought that I lived like a pig because my
You're
place
like some
literally smelled
slob.
like garbage.
Yeah. Oh no.
So some of Jamie's wing girl attempts kind of went better than others.
Yeah, maybe like a little heads up would have been good.
Yeah, like why don't you clean up a little bit, but before we come over. But
Yeah.
another really, I think, critical part of this story is Jamie invited Hannah to go to a Warning Danger show,
Okay.
knowing that I would be there before I joined the band. So I was there watching the band. And actually,
Okay.
Jake, the guy who I was hanging out with at the bar when I met Hannah, was the original guitar player in Warning Danger. So bring
Okay.
that all for full. So Jake was up on the stage playing guitar. I
Yeah.
was in the crowd hanging out with Hannah, which was great for me.
Yeah.
And I told my friend Joel, who also happened to be there that night, and keep in mind, this was the second time I'd ever laid eyes on Hannah. I told Joel, that's the girl I'm going to marry.
Really?
I told him,
Wow.
I have never said anything even remotely like that at any other point in my life.
Wow.
And he said, dude, you're crazy. You don't even know that girl. I mean, what is this, like the second time you've even talked to her? She's got a boyfriend right now? Like, what are you talking about? I said,
Wow.
nope, she's it.
You had some kind of sense. You were like, there's a connection here, a big
Yep,
connection.
yep.
That's pretty
And
cool.
turned out I was right, and I'm totally not the type of person to go making wild predictions like that.
Yeah,
Luckily.
yeah. Well, that's a pretty awesome story, and I know you have kind of an interesting proposal that you did later on when it got to be that time. So that is actually, Eric mentioned, in the movie Raising the Bar. So I will post the link for that as
Hmm.
well, and you can hear about his proposal story. It's kind of interesting.
Hmm.
So now, what kind of lessons did you learn from your experience, your meeting Hannah experience?
I think the lesson that I learned, and I want to make it clear that I'm not advocating for people to try to steal someone's girlfriend or boyfriend away from someone else.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think the lesson for me was that, just because a person that you're interested in isn't available right now, and maybe the timing isn't right at the moment, it doesn't mean that the timing can't become right later.
Hmm.
I feel like, if I had listened to my friend Jake, who said she's got a boyfriend, forget about it, never gonna happen. If I had just said, oh, you're right, let's get out of here, let's go somewhere else,
Yeah, yeah,
things would have turned out completely differently. So I'm glad that I was patient.
yeah, yeah, totally. So maybe like be patient, kind of keep, kind of check things out a little bit more before you totally dismiss it, because you got wind quite early on that, things might be different if you just wait a little bit. So
Yeah,
that
that
was,
definitely helped. But yeah,
yeah,
definitely don't throw in the towel too quickly if
yeah,
things aren't like a total green light right off the bat.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah. So kind of stay open to things happening down the road,
And
maybe.
if you have a connection to her friend, talk to her friend
There you go.
and figure out what the story is, because her friend gave me a lot of intel and like set up a lot of meetings. So like definitely having a wing girl helps a lot, especially if the wing girl knows the girl that you're interested in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you got mutual friends, work that,
Yeah,
find
I
out
mean,
the real scoop.
a lot of the people you meet, whether they're girlfriends or boyfriends or even just friends, are people that you meet through other friends,
Yeah,
because it's like that they're going to be good people.
yeah, totally. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's an awesome story and some great lessons learned. So thanks for sharing that story.
My
Uh,
pleasure.
So let me remind everybody, you can check out Eric's links in the description. And thanks for joining us, Eric. I'm very excited that you could come on today. All right,
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
you are sure welcome. And now it is time for visual aids. All right, so don't forget, there will be a new episode almost. And remember, I say almost because I might be doing something really cool. Who knows? So almost every Thursday at 4 p.m., which I'm not saying that this isn't cool. It is. It just takes time to do all the work around it. So maybe I'm like off in Bali. Who knows? Who knows what else I'm doing? Maybe I'm like out hanging with I don't know, some big movie star. Who knows? You never know what I'm doing.
Maybe you're at a Warning Danger show.
Maybe I'm at a Warning Danger show. You got it. So almost every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific time. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all your friends. And most importantly, I want you to know you are loved. All right, this has been Love Stories. I'm Cheri Smith, Blue Heart Music, and we will catch you next time.